Good morning. We are now live, and I'm joined today by Rory and Paul Force. Rory, of course, is the marketing director at Dataloft. Paul is at Integrated Interest. Good morning, gents. How are you doing?
All good. Good morning.
Morning. Very good, thanks.
Good to have you both with us. An interesting tie-up almost seems very natural in terms of how agents can best utilize your services. Combined seems a real force to be reckoned with. No pun intended there, Paul. But for the skeptics out there who are asking whether email marketing is still effective for estate agents, we hear all sorts of stories about open rates and whether or not email marketing is still reaching the right audience and nurturing them along. What's your perspective, guys?
Do you want me to kick off, Paul?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, coming from my perspective, obviously, because we're not an email marketing company, but I am a marketing person from a marketing background. I still feel, to me, that email is just an absolute no-brainer for estate agents. There was some. We were at the Guild conference last week, and there's some really interesting talks. And if I could introduce my first stat of the day, old stat Rory. There was a really interesting one which is used quite a lot, which is that agents should spend 60% of their time brand building and 40% in response kind of lead generation activity. And to me, that's really important. And that's what a lot of what we do at Dataloft is to help agents build their brand. And so, that 60% of time brand building, to me, email is such an effective, useful channel for that. Because it's cost effective. It's a really simple way to keep hearing this word nurture, but the whole concept of of nurturing your database is if you consistently stay in touch with your database by email.
That's the key,
you're
isn't
not.
it? Yeah.
You might not get huge open rates or click-through rates, but the point is if you consistently do it, and this is why we're so excited about our integration. If you're sharing something about their local market, the property that they live in, that they find of interest, then you've got way more chance of them opening up the email and reading it. But it's the whole point about that. If you want to build your brand, that's 60% time you need to spend on that. Then sharing local relevant content by email is really effective. But so I still think in this day and age, it's a really, really effective channel for estate agents to use, and not many are using it that well. But Paul,
it's interesting you make that sort of analogy with. We use the word nurture the whole time in terms of nurture campaigns, and I think that probably does it a little bit more justice than necessary, because sometimes all you need is to constantly just keep in touch. You need a keep in touch policy, and what your content does is it gives you a really good reason to keep in touch, and you're adding value as opposed to just nurture systems that bother people and constantly have a point of sale. You're not nagging them in that way. If you utilize your information correctly, you're actually adding value. You're giving them information that they may find interesting.
Yeah, I think it's, you've got to understand the people that you're talking to first off. So from, the integration side, the segmentation of that data, make sure that, it's called, nurturing, it's called workflows, customer journeys. There's so many different names for it. So yeah, it is. Even by getting the right target audience, you look at agents, they've got obviously active and they've got archived. People that they don't really, that may have bought from them, I don't know, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Again, people are still kind of looking at the communications, be it from a newsletter, to which, again, you can kind of put the market updates that Dataloft do in that, which you can send out from a manual, or you can automate that out as well. So it's important for them to kind of see that. So even though they may not be in the market to sell, buy, rent, let, whatever it may be, they're still getting that data that's kind of informing them of that market. Even from, segmentation, 50% people are more likely to click on a call to action if the information and that segmentation is correct. It's massive on that side of things. But when you think about it, what do you want email marketing to do? Really, you want it to do, 3 things. You either want them to, drive traffic to the website. on that side of things. You want them to pick up the phone and give them a call, or you want them to, send an email or fill out a form. That's what you want. It's driving that interest. And if you can back that up with insightful stats and information to show that you're head and shoulders above the market, but also you're talking to them, in a regular but not overly done fashion, it pays dividends.
Yeah, it's that weird concept that about sometimes you need to be quite patient with your marketing, which none of us are particularly patient, but because you want results. But if you keep ticking away, and keep share, and if you can share things that they're interested in receiving, then like the ideal position is that even if the homeowner is not ready to talk to you now, that at some point when they are ready, you'll be on their radar. And I think the agents that we work with that go that extra mile to both stay in touch, nurture their database, and share something that people find really interesting to read, really steal the march in that perspective.
I think agents are super lucky in that respect, in as much as our nation seems to have a natural curiosity around anything to do with property prices. We all love a good stat. My ears pricked up when I heard Paul mentioning percentages there. So these are all things that people like to read about. I'm not convinced that if you're looking to buy a car, you're in the market for a car for that moment. I'm not sure I'd necessarily have a curiosity about car prices in between my next car. But I think with properties, you've got a captive audience the whole time. And if you can keep your content varied enough, and if you can keep yourself in front of them without boring them, I think that's the key to it.
Yeah, I think and your database is a lot more than just people that you're currently communicating with. Paul will talk to you a bit about the mechanics of how the integration works, but like you might have landlords on your database who might be looking at their next property and you don't know that. So keep that conversation going. You might have tenants who are the buyers of the future. In the Property Academy survey, I think it's something like 25% of tenants said they're looking to buy in the next 12 months.
Yeah.
So if you're the agent that's proactively staying in touch with them, then there's more potential business to be generated as well.
Absolutely. It's an often overlooked patch of the market, that actually, in terms of where your next buyers are going to come from, but it's natural that they'll be there. So Rory touched on it there. Obviously, we're here today because both of you in your own rights have fantastic products that are helping agents reach their target audience and provide them with great content. And so it may seem that the tie-up between the two of you is natural, but how does the integration work, and what sort of value is that delivering for agents?
Well, I was going to say we first started talking, believe this or not, Rory, I had to look back through the emails when we initially talked, and it was just over a year ago. Last February is when we first started talking, and it was, it was an easy fit, if you know what I mean. So, Dataloft Inform was absolutely cracking data, but where they had it, it'd be on the widget, which is great, where you can kind of see it on the websites and so on and so forth. And they've got the monthly market updates and all the infographics, which is absolutely fab. But we'd had clients, and Rory had had it from their side as well, saying, Joe, it's really great that we've got all this data. And we work in different verticals as well. And you look at the information and the data that estate agents have, it's phenomenal. Absolutely. We know everything about them. So it was kind of trying to get that information out. So we put together certain workflows, nurturing campaigns as we were discussing it, and say, wouldn't it be great for a welcome message, for instance, to be able to fire out, when they first get introduced to the business, and be able to tell them about their hyper-local, if you want to use that word, where you can't say, we know that in the last 5 years, house prices have gone up by this. We know a semi-detached is worth that. Walking to the nearest bus stop is, whatever it may be. So as an introduction to start to bring in that information, it was a no-brainer. And because Dataloft Inform didn't have that ability to automate this and to be able to stream this information in, that was where we kind of go, well, we've got our customers asking for it. You've got that there. Can we just do an API to kind of talk through this? Because we did some work for I shan't say who actually. We were doing some work, and it was all to do with the welcome message. And this customer was that we don't need a welcome message. Just as an example to kind of lead on to this. and so we kind of said, well, it's best if you do, because engagement will be higher. And again, the more facts and the more information you can get and put in there, the better it is. And we did some trials and testing on there, and we found that if they didn't receive a welcome message, only 3% of people who had come onto that database would go on to engage with further communications. Now, if you send that welcome message, as Rory says, it's about the brand, even like animated GIFs in there, kind of the branch manager or the CEO, whoever it may be talking about it, that goes up to 37% of people will then start to go on and further engage with things. So then by being able to bring in stats, as we've just mentioned, that whether it's for a welcome message, whether it's for pre-valuations or post-valuations or viewing appointments or online valuations or anniversary messages, to instill this information, it was literally a no-brainer to do, because again, it just gives the value. And the way the API link works is it's all live data, so it will be relevant from that postcode, that area, as soon as that new person registers. Our system looks at that information and then just fires out to the relevant person, so it's done instantly.
Yeah, it's a really so we're what this integration is really neat. I mean, we're really happy with it because we're also quite visual. So for us, we don't really like to talk about being data specialists, because what we do is we take data and we turn it into insights and stories, and we make it very visual and creative. And what Paul's done is he's basically automatically taking stats and turning them into something that's visual, it's colorful. So you'll get a welcome email, but it'll be a welcome email plus, because it will have some local stats really nicely designed in that client's branding. It's just those it's like little marginal gains that you can use with your marketing, just little things that make a difference. But so it's all very seamless. So it comes straight from Inform in our look and style, branded. And so it's really simple. And so at the moment, like as an agent, if you're really pushed for time, then there's a little bit of setup time, obviously. But once you've got your sort of 4 or 5 journey emails in that customer journey, those trigger points set up, then those stats automatically flow through, and it becomes pretty effortless at that point. Paul, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was going to say the setup time that isn't even for the agent. That's more so for you and I to kind of. And thank you for saying I've done it. I was going to say the team will be. I'll take the credit for it. No, the team from both sides, have worked, tirelessly on this as well to get it to that standard. But it's, as you say, it's helping agents use the content proactively. Again, it's driving traffic where they'll see the stats as kind of, as a recipient, you'll see the stats and then you'll click through and go to the website. Again, it's having that brand awareness, it's pushing it through. I mean, we've noticed that about 10% of traffic, additional traffic, is starting to flow through websites for those that are using Dataloft, which you kind of think of the numbers there when an email goes out, or a welcome one, or whatever it may be, on those ones, on the workflows that we've created. There's a lot of traffic that then starts to flow through from that. Using the content proactively, using the database proactively as well. It's not just sitting there, and as we've mentioned there, the agent doesn't have to do anything. We literally set it up for them, make sure they sign it off, they're happy with the look and feel and the insights and the data that we've got in there, and then off it goes for them. So it's lovely stuff done.
It's interesting to me, Rory. You never fail to be sort of almost embarrassed about the fact that your data is superb, but yet your trick, if you like, is presenting it in a way that you don't need to be stato to understand and translate it into marketing speak. In fact, if I give you a for instance, this is one of your graphics from the beginning of January. It's fantastic because it communicates instantly to the potential seller that the market is on fire, and I don't think you could do that in any other way than really sort of simplifying that data and picking the key bits that resonate, but then marrying it with an image that perhaps the resonates with the public a lot more. So to me, that's something that always sort of stands out about that kind of content.
Yeah, I think we're quite unique in that respect, because we're not just market analysts, we're also creative types. So we wouldn't put anything out that we weren't happy, it looked vibrant and colorful and all the rest of it. So, but that's why we probably, my colleague Becca, who's absolutely incredible at working on the integrations, probably drove Paul mad because she wanted to make sure everything was absolutely spot on. But basically, it is quite seamless, because if you work with integrated interests and with Dataloft and Form, you're getting content that you're used to seeing in the same style, look and feel, effortlessly flowing through to emails, and that's really exciting. And the exciting, there's bits that I really love. Like, we've always loved this idea, and I know some other people do this as well. But with the email, it's easier. Is that idea of the anniversary emails as well?
Yes.
Like that whole bit about Josh Fegan always talks about, dentists are really nailed this bit, that when you leave the dentist, the first thing you do is book you in for an appointment in a year's time. Whereas when you've done your transaction with an agent, and I'm not being critical at all, but when you've done a transaction with an agent, they don't necessarily then stay in touch. So being able to go back to them and say 3 years, 4 years, every year on an ongoing basis, and say, look, what's happened in your market, would be a nightmare to do on your own. But because if you've got the stats from Inform and you work with Paul, then we can feed through those lovely anniversary stats in an email. That's where Nurture really works really powerfully, when you're really working your database.
Well,
sorry. Sorry, Paul.
No, I was going to say it's a really good point, because we can even work it as well. The agent's got that data in there, and so you could have someone who maybe looked at an online valuation, never really kind of converted to having a proper appraisal. But what we've also got the ability, again, on that nurture campaign, let's say someone 6 months ago, 12 months ago, showed interest, and then they come back to the website. Well, we can actually target that, see that person come back to it, and then send them an email based on the stats from Dataloft and Form, and kind of say, wow, since you've been away, nice to see you back. The markets, this has happened in your hyper local area. This is what's happened. So again, we can kind of touch people who haven't been, from their actions, we can start to engage from it. And again, with the integrations that we've got with CRMs and with Rory, we can start to really home in on that. But like you were showing the infographic there as well, which is really powerful stuff and really well done by, as I say, the team over at Dataloft, which a lot of agents use for their social media. We've also got the ability that is also now piped into our platform. So if an in-house marketing team, or we do a managed service and that kind of thing, we can literally now just drag those infographics from there, put them into that's it. It's that kind of thing into a newsletter. And again, fire it off. So it's helping populate that, give it that content as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be automated. We can also do the content, if you like, for newsletters, or just kind of a burst out if that marketing department wants to. But then again, your developers over there and our developers over here.
So, well, that's what I wanted to talk to you next about, Paul. The integration itself, I'm assuming that's now live, and that agents can start to use that. I suppose a key part of it is that as agents, we're wearing so many different hats. We've got only a certain amount of time, and we're constantly juggling tasks. Yeah. We need to learn to be marketeers. We need to be presenters. We need to be salesmen. We need to be constantly prospecting. We need to be everything. And sometimes we are guilty of dropping some of those hats whilst we're juggling them. So I think the key is as much automation and as much integration as possible, that kind of once you've set your defined marketing path and how you want that nurture journey to look, it works seamlessly in the background there. So how in actual fact is that going?
I was going to say it goes really well. I mean, we went live, I think it was beginning of December, I think it was, when we announced it, wasn't it, Rory?
Yeah.
And again, the agents are so busy. You do, they wear so many different hats. They have to play so many roles. And this is where we've got so many different nurturing campaigns that we can say to the agents. We've got this. So, from our experience with our clients, we know that these ones perform the best. These ones are going to bring in instructions. These ones are going to kind of help, nurture that client. But again, it's how's the best way to phrase it? it's making the automation as well look personal, like it's from a real person. It's not robotic. It's not kind of, one that you get from a cart abandonment kind of, style in that. It's where it actually says, we can put the negotiator in there. We can have a picture of them in there as well to make it look and sound that, and we know that another one that databases, because agents are busy, are not always in the best condition, kind of, they may put the first name in the wrong place and so on and so forth. So, but again, by having personalization, it is a really powerful tool for people to open and engage with it. But we've got where we can default it to kind of different things. So it's nice that we can kind of get that message out where they feel like they are being looked after and personalized all the way through it, which again helps with that brand recognition, and when they do pick up the phone, can I speak to Sue, please, or whoever it may be, it gives them that point of reference or point of contact.
Paul,
yeah, I mean, it's worth saying that there are actually agents who have got a bit more time for marketing, or maybe they have a marketing manager, which they're very lucky in that respect. But what we'll also look at is, further down the line, is the ability, if you're a marketing manager, you want to build your own emails. Paul, you can tell me, nod if I'm correct here, but if you're a marketing manager and you want a bit more variety in your emails, or you want to create your own content. So say you want to do an email campaign just to people who own detached homes in your local area, and you just want to pull out stats on what's going on in that particular market, or you want to contact local developers and you want to pull some new homes stats or email and new homes market report from Dataloft Inform, then we'll be able to cater for that as well. So we've started out sort of on the basis that a lot of the subscribers we work with are time starved, which is absolutely understandable. So we've got a really quick fix for them, but we'll expand on that over time as well and give people more choice too.
I think Paul touched on that before, that the agents are not amazingly good at tending their data sometimes, and we're all guilty of using the CRM as a sort of a catch-all bucket for people's details. We're on autopilot. You answer that phone, you take their name, their address, it goes in there, and then it's there forevermore, or until you do something with it. Sometimes too slapdash about it, so we don't get the correct data, or we're not having the proper conversations. But I think that attitude, if you like, is changing, because I think we all realize that we're living in this sort of golden age of data at the moment, where if we don't utilize the data to the best of our ability, we're really sort of missing a trick. And that's the key to making things feel more personalized, but also having quality conversations with the customers.
That you've got it. It's having the relevant conversations with the customers as well, by knowing who that person is that you're going to be targeting through, whether it be email or SMS or direct mail, whatever it may be, to know that audience. Because you mentioned it before about open rates. If you kind of start to shoot, I mean, you don't want to go down that too granular, but if you kind of do the shotgun approach, you just send it out to everyone, your open rates will be absolutely terrible. Where if you kind of say, right, as Rory said, I just want to speak to first-time buyers that I've got a budget of X amount and blah, 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 maybe a new home development or whatever it may be, fire out within a postcode of X, you can start to do and, send that information through. So you then start to put things in funnels and kind of make sure you've got the campaigns right. And then, you can also, I was going to say, through our platform, and again, utilizing that, if someone engages with that email, goes off and does this. It's like for financial services, a great example there. Agents now, I mean, we've seen it happen more so, I'd say, in the last 12 months, where agents are starting to kind of come on more financial services, kind of, the referrals off the back of that. So it's an easy sell, again, from a welcome message. Financial services are in there. They click onto it. They go to the website. They see a bit of information about it, and then 2 days' time they'll get an email off Brian. Have you got your mortgage in place, X, Y, and Z? So again, it's from an agent's point of view, they don't have to worry about that. That contact, that introduction is already made. So yeah, it is important to make sure that the data is in there. Obviously GDPR and the compliance issues and all of that, but they're all taken care of by marketing consent, which again, the platform does as it pulls that data through and make sure, yes, we can censor that person.
It's quite, I mean, obviously, like in the modern age, you've got to, I know that people say you've got to have 11 touch points across 7 different marketing channels. Everyone's got slightly different numbers. So obviously email is not your only marketing channel you should use, but there are still very few alternatives to be able to be that segmented and that particular about, getting to the right people at the right time with the right message than email. And you could do it with door drops. You can do it if you're lucky. Social media is absolutely crucial, but you're not guaranteed you to get through to the right person and all the rest of it. So, if anyone's listening in and they think, oh, I don't do email anymore, it's a bit old hat, then I really don't think that's the case at all. And I think it's still a really important part of your marketing.
Well, I've got a stat for you there, Rory, if you want it.
Oh, yes.
So I was going to say,
come on, Paul. Jazz this up with a nice stat.
But 60% inquiries are made via email compared to only 13% of social media. So, I mean, it's people will sooner engage and inquire by receiving. It's almost like you receive a letter. I know emails are digital letters in a form, but 60% will make it off the back of that compared to 13% off social media. Because social media, there's a lot of content there. You've got the never-ending scrolling thing, and it's those little sound bites where the email has you. I mean, I think another stat is like 25% of emails are opened in the first hour of you receiving them as well. So, it does hold your engagement in email when it comes through more than a social media. Social media is great. You should use it, absolutely. And you can do all the segmentations on that as well. But you need kind of that multi-marketing channels to be able to do it. But email is far by, still well up there.
The key to all of that is an email plus content that people want to receive is the most powerful combination. I think that's what's got us really excited about this, because staying in touch by email is important. It is, but if you can stay in touch plus share something of interest and relevance, then you're onto a winner, really.
So this is the perfect marriage between sort of a digital marketing platform and really great market focused content. Yeah. What is the feedback like from agents that are using the integration at the moment?
Yeah, they're absolutely loving it. We've got so many on there at the moment that we're trying to get through, because now people are, the floodgates are open. It's when can we have it? When can we have it? When can you have it? And you kind of go, yep, we're doing it. We're doing it. So the demand for it has been great. But it's there's so much you can do with it, and this is, I was going to say, it's a nice problem to have. We've got the standard ones where we've put it in there, as I mentioned, welcome messages and so on, and anniversary and so on and so forth. But the beauty of it is when you start talking to the agents as well, is how you then start to bespoke this information. One of our clients is in North Wales, and they're looking at it. So Paul, walking to transport or the nearest bus station, it's like 20 miles away. So how do we start to utilize that? So it's good to talk to the clients where they are looking at it and saying, well, this is the important bit. So it's not just a one size fits all. It's kind of where they're coming back to us and kind of saying, we've got this, bespoke information. We'd like to utilize it in this way, which you kind of think, fantastic. And then you can then start to say to them, how do you want that to work in your customer journey? Because again, everyone is slightly different. And that's the beauty about it, is you can kind of go, well, we want it to do this and we want this information. You go, not a problem at all. We can do that for you. So it's,
and that's the beauty of it. I think that, sometimes we make a mistake of talking on a macro level about the UK property market without taking into account that each of our markets, I suppose, are unique in its own way, and sometimes you need to go hyper local in order to give them information that's relevant to them. Because I've spoken to agents in Wales, and sometimes they'll say, yes, well, we're often lumped in the same basket as the rest of the UK, but we've got particular dynamics in our market that you guys don't have, and we need to address that. And I suppose, Rory, that's where your reports being focused precisely on a local area gives it that relevance.
Well, it's not just within a local area, but it's when you look at particular property types. For example, I was chatting to a subscriber in the New Forest, and he was saying, there was a 2% increase in average values across all properties in the last 12 months. And he was quite rightly saying, "Oh, it feels like it should be a lot more than that." But when you look at averages, that takes into account, studio flats up to 10-bedroom mansions. So you're going to have something that finishes kind of in the middle. But then we looked at detached homes, and they'd gone up almost 10% in value in the last 10 years in the same area. And for him to be able to talk about averages and then talk about the highest performing properties is really powerful and shows that he really knows the market inside out. So yeah, there's local, and then there's niches and sub areas within a local market.
But
But
what's
to be able to
lovely
get
on
all of
that,
that information on your own and try and make sense of it would be an absolute nightmare. So
Yeah.
but what's lovely on that is then you can start to go out there and do mining as well. So you've got a database, you know what kind of property that person's got. As you say that, a detached has gone up by 10% in the last X amount of years, then you can just go at your database, send a communication out. Did you know, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
bring that stat in, and then click here for evaluation or, for property appraisal. And that will drive it because people don't know that information. But if you've got them there, and again, it depends on the frequency of when you send things, but that's so powerful to kind of bring people in who, they may be applicants who haven't, you want to try and get them onto to get an instruction or an appraisal on them. So send them that information.
You would have with your clients, Paul, they would have a couple of standard email templates, presumably, that they can tailor. So if they happen to find a really juicy, compelling stat, then they can easily load up a kind of a template they've got ready and then hammer it out.
Yeah, drag that in, post that out, and it's gone. Not a problem at all. And to the right segmentation.
So as with all the best prop tech products, I suppose what you do is again you give that gift of time back to the agent by freeing them up. You're saving them time, and you're also saving them money by bringing these two platforms together. If anybody's not already working with you two, how do they go about it? Where should they start? Is it a chat with Paul? Is it a chat with Rory? Where do we go?
It's either. So, for instance, if clients are already on board with either myself and they're with Dataloft, then we set them up for it. So there's no additional charge for that. It's just as long as they're kind of with Rory, they're with us. Again, we can get those set up and up and running. If they're with Dataloft already and would like to kind of get the automation side of things in, again, talk to Rory, talk to myself. More than happy to have that conversation, and vice versa. Clients that are with us that want to be working with Dataloft, we can, in a nice way, we can bore them silly about how good they are and what they do. So it's a really good marriage. And when you look at again the just the timing saved as well. I mean, even just by integrations, uploading data, downloading data, unsubscribing. I mean, we did stats on it, and it's about 8 hours a week people waste on doing that. So, if we near enough pays for itself, when you kind of look at the time savings from an admin point of view, kind of with Dataloft and, and ourselves, I was going to say a no-brainer, but I'm not going to say a no-brainer.
I can feel the love in this marriage. When we're doing prep for our webinars, we'll ask you a bunch of questions, and very often marketing people will just send back a whole load of blurb on each company. But you two have sent me back a line here, which I think says it all. Dataloft and Integrated Interests are both small and flexible companies who will go the extra mile to help their mutual clients get their integration up and running. I suppose there's a perfect marriage in terms of business philosophy as well, in how hard you're going to work to get successful results for your clients.
Yeah, we probably put too much effort in, but no, we just want to make sure that everyone's happy. I mean, we're absolutely, the content is fantastic on Dataloft Inform. We want to make sure that people use it proactively. That's the secondary and really important focus for us. So that's why we put so much work into integrations like this one to help with that. But no, we're both very similar sized companies, and we're both just like making sure people are happy and that they've got the best out of the products they pay for. Yeah.
But it's funny you do say it like that, Rory, as well, because it is kind of sometimes it's at the detrimental of yourselves, where you kind of go, the client will want something, you kind of think, right, we don't want to let them down. We want to do that. And you kind of, we'll have conversations with you scratching your head. You think, how do we do that? And when you kind of, it'll say, but that's not in our offering. No, I know it's not in our offering, but how do we get that? Or someone will ask. But it's nice because it just doesn't benefit, if you think about it as well, when we do go off and we kind of say, yeah, how do we do this? And it is going above and beyond. It doesn't just benefit that one client, though. It benefits everyone else, because we've done that for that one client, which we then can push out to, the masses or our client database and say, yeah, we've now done this. You are now able to do this. So yes, I was going to say it's not detrimental, but it helps push.
It's all worth it.
Along. Yeah.
That is great. We can have this discussion in a wider sense about prop tech, but there are some companies who have a very rigid framework, and if you don't fall within that sort of box and that offering, then it's not going to be the product for you. And as great as it might be, it doesn't offer that flexibility to progress. But then you've got really sort of progressive solutions that are constantly taking on board their clients' feedback and constantly then adapting it. And it does feel like it's a never-ending story because you're constantly improving your offering. But I would argue that these days, that's where the focus of it's right in line with estate agents, because we woke up in a world where 5-6 years ago we had to justify our existence against perhaps slicker looking online models, and we realized that in terms of customer service, what we have to do is widen our offering. And if there's something that our clients want us to do, we can't afford to just fold our arms and say, no, we don't do that. We have to adapt and do it. So I suppose really that's the mirror of it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's fantastic. It's been really great sort of catching up with you both and learning a bit more about this integration. And of course, all your details are on kerfuffle.com, as well as some fantastic deals. But if you're looking to boost your hyperlocal presence and your relevance to your audience, I would highly recommend that you take some time, have a chat with both Rory and Paul. Seem like really passionate guys and know what they're doing within their fields, and together it is that perfect marriage. So thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, David. Cheers.
Bye.